Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. Hey, I want to thank you all for joining me here today. Lions Talk Live just after 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wanted to get over to you guys. This story is going to be a little bit different. I know it's doom and gloom. Half of you don't want John Morton around, and I get it. I've had my thoughts on him. I've shared my statements about his ability to call plays, perhaps even playing a very vanilla or conservative approach to offense. And obviously something had to change with the Detroit Lions because we all seen last week MCDC take over the play calling duties. Dan Campbell, I thought, was as polite as you could be when addressing the media after the game. Just said, hey, thought we needed to try some things a little bit differently. John Morton, whether you love him or hate him, I've got a statement from him for you. And this is going to speak, I think, more to the man himself than anything else. John Morton didn't run away from it, did go to the podium, did take the offensive play calling under scrutiny with reporters, and that's what I basically want to talk about. We often talk about the Detroit Lions drafting a particular type of player, somebody who's got, the grit, somebody who's overcome adversity, somebody who's, just faced the fire and come out better for it. John Morton is no stranger to being replaced as an OC or passing coordinator or running game coordinator. Whatever you want to say, John Morton's been put through it as a ringer. What I'm here to talk about today is coaching is not easy at any level, professionally, collegiately, high school, travel, whatever metric you want to say. Somebody's going to have an opinion. They're going to come after you. They're going to tell you when you're wrong, even when you're winning. What we can also say is John Morton is not someone apparently quit. John Morton, like probably the rest of the Lions coaching staff, stood up there, understood when there was going to be tough, difficult questions, and he owned it. Quote, it's not about me regarding the change in OC, goals and this or that. No, the ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl. So I didn't even blink twice because I know my role here. The only thing that changed is that he's calling it on game day. Everything else is still the same, end quote from John Morton. What does that mean? We've often been speculating for some time now. If Dan Campbell's going to call the plays in game, what's John Morton's role? It'd be my anticipation to go over the nuances leading up to it. Think about the NFL. Think about how many head coaches are actually offensive coordinators, or, there will be a few that are defense coordinators. That doesn't mean they do it all themselves. So John Morton's role, while not defined, I did ask a couple people, try to get some information from them over in Detroit media. From what they're hearing is he's more of an in-game or during the week, during practices, he's an in-game adjustment person. What does that mean? He's going to watch a whole lot of film and give that film and those notes over to Dan Campbell, let him know tendencies during the game. Why is he up in the booth? Well, some of you obviously don't like him being on the not on the field, but up in the booth, but there's an advantage to that. He's going to have a different view of the structures, the personnel packages coming in, the subs being made by the defense, and now he is calling that down to Dan Campbell, who's going to process that information on the fly and make adjustments. There are probably more than certain going to be other coaches, as Dan Campbell's alluded to call in and say, hey, let's work on this when we're sitting down watching film, doing the X's and O's, getting ready for the upcoming opponent. There are going to be a lot of coaches now involved, and at the end of the day, Dan Campbell's got to make the choice what personnel package to put in, what play to run. So what does this all mean going forward? Dan Campbell's not giving up the mic. He's going to be wearing the headset and calling the plays. He's going to have the glasses. He's going to have the play sheet. But John Morton, perhaps more to his strength, is going to sit there in the system with breaking down film and then translating that on game day. John Morton, as we all know, probably knows a whole lot about football, more than most people are giving him credit for. But for whatever reason, he's not so good, at least it would seem, as far as calling plays in the game. So what's the MCDC doing? Probably the same thing we can all say about this organization. They play to their strengths, whether it's with the players, whether it's with the scouts, whether it's with the coaches. This might actually be a win for the organization. John Morton, obviously everybody wants him. You've had Ben Johnson try to get him to not go to the Detroit Lions, want to go there. You've had the Denver Broncos try to retain his services this offseason. That's a whole lot of people that know offensive football that want him. Why is that? He does have some value, even though I get it as fans. We want to throw shame at this dude left, right, and center, and I get it because you know what? While his strengths may be breaking down film and recognizing things, it may not be in-game adjustments and responding to what you're seeing on the fly. So just a thought about it, but is MCDC showing his brilliance once again, and instead of getting rid of him, stripping away the OC title, actually allowing him to do that while giving MCDC perhaps his strength in calling plays. There are a whole lot of people, if you would go back a few weeks ago, when asked what is MCDC or Dan Campbell's strength, probably say, hey, speeches, rah-rah guy, identifying personnel, things of that sort. But when in hindsight now, going back to when Anthony Lynn was removed from his duties as the offensive coordinator with Lions, let's revisit that moment in time. When did the Detroit Lions really have an offense that took off? Well, right about that time. Jared Goff, went from being one of the bottom quarterbacks, statistically speaking, during their career with the Detroit Lions at that point, to finishing the year going in as during just those 6, 7, 8 games as the number 4 quarterback in the NFL over that time frame. Jared Goff obviously knows Dan Campbell, knows what he wants. You guys have seen the reports during the Minnesota Vikings game at halftime, coming out of the locker room, down the tunnel. There were multiple different people, many of you guys there watching it live, that said Morton, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff getting into a heated exchange along with some other coaches. Why that is, we'll probably never know. What we do know is Dan Campbell probably viewed that as a moment. Hey, I got to step in once again, assume the play calling, and let John Morton do what he does well. This will be a big test, I think, for the entire Detroit Lions organization, let alone the offense. Dan Campbell, John Morton, Jared Goff, the offensive line, receivers, you guys all get it this Sunday night when we play the Philadelphia Eagles. If we continue the trend of protecting Goff, getting established running game, getting better mechanics, more involvement, I should say, in the passing attack with whoever's going to be out there, I think that speaks to the volumes even more that John Morton, why did the MCDC want him? Who he is internally, let alone what he knows about the game of football. Yes, I've been where he has before, having to talk in the mic, and it's never fun, let alone when people are coming after you. And I give John Morton all sorts of credit. You can have your own opinion on him. I know some of you think he's a bum, Mick. I think some of you want him fired, probably unmercifully beheaded, whatever you want to say. I just think for the fact that he has stood up there to own the moment, not run away from it, didn't turn down the interviews, actually stood in front of the mic and said, no, bring it on. And because he would have been given the opportunity from Dan Campbell to probably turn down being interviewed. But he said, nah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to own it. And you know what? We are going to be better for it. John Morton decided to be the class act like everybody else in this organization and come back and say, nah, this is going to be what's best for the team. It's not about me. It's not about me having to prove my value, my worth. It's about what gets this team right, what gets them to the next win, and then obviously into the playoffs and the Super Bowl. All right, Duke Crew, not going to make this the longest one, but let me get over to you guys real quick. I have nothing but respect for John Morton. I may not like his play calling. I may disagree with his structures, the X and O's, the whole shebang, but as far as a human being, I'm going to say this. He rose, in my opinion, today. Damian, just we'll consider that for sure. Dawn, that guy just can't get out of his own way, maybe to a certain degree, but you know what? He might add some value here, and you know what? We might tap into more of that value by allowing him, again, to go to his strengths. David, not a fan of his ability to call a game. He was not good. I might agree with you fully. Doug, why is John Morton even with the team any longer? Question mark. Campbell's too soft to fire people. Maybe, but maybe Dan Campbell, again, sees value that maybe the rest of us haven't uncovered yet. Dave sounds like Arnold, Laporta, and KJ out Sunday. We need them bad. I do think, we had a separate video on it earlier today, Dave. I think Arnold's, maybe a 30% chance to play. He's got to get through all 5 layers of the concussion protocol. With Laporta, if it's a back thing, which multiple reports have it out there now, he's got some strained ligaments in his back. I'd probably sit him, rest him, maybe even against the Giants, have him fresh for Green Bay. As far as Joseph, also, it is being considered that he might have to have surgery to kind of further help the recovery of the PCL. If that's the case, he's probably not going to be back till mid to late December. We'll see the rest over time. Steve Rogers, there was a reason everyone fired him over and over. Could be a level of truth to that. 5 Breakers ready. What did he say? Now you know, and owning is half the battle. John, I give Morton credit for showing up. Yeah, me too. Sunday and this week, that had to be hard for him. Yeah, him, his family, the whole shebang. I think we all get that, but I do give him some props for it. Kellen Mizzou strong on to the next OC, probably in the offseason for sure. Marcus, here we go! Exclamation point, back at you. Scott, what do you got? What's up, Coach Dan? Thanks for the update. Go Lions. I like the way you're thinking. Always a pleasure to see you, Scott. Moonscar, what up, Duke Crew? Exclamation point, back at you. Marcus, oh man, I thought he was fired. Not as of yet. Amy, Mary, he had no chance but his own to own it up, and he knew he messed up. He messed up, yeah. And sorry, Mary, I don't know, got tongue-tied twisted there, but Queen Mary, yeah, you're right. He knew he had to go up to it, talk to the mic, talk to the press, talk to the people, and let them know, hey, I'm going to do whatever I can to make the team better. And clearly that meant MCDC felt taking over play calls from him. Marcus, what do you got? MCDC OC, you are correct with that. That's a tongue-tied twister there. Marcus, translation, he's a consultant. Yes, he will be breaking down film. And for those who don't know, if you haven't ever coached at certain levels, there's a ton of film to break down. I mean, you will probably, I can't say for certain how MCDC does it, but my anticipation is this week, like Monday, Tuesday, today, even Wednesday and Thursday, they're probably breaking down the last 5 to 8 games of the Philadelphia Eagles, trying to get tendencies, normalities, then have somebody else break down the last few games of that OC if they were with a different team. Same with the DC. I mean, they get so detailed with it, you wouldn't believe how much time that consumes up. So, to your point, Marcus, that may be more of John Morton's role now. We'll have to wait and find out. Riley O'Brien, what up, Duke Crew? And Coach Dan, what's going on? I know you're at work. Big D, this makes us better. I think it does. String theory, there is no I in team. Have your own opinion on John Morton, but I will say this. At least he was willing to say, I'm willing to do whatever to make the team better, not me better. So I'm with you there. Riley, it seems Coach Campbell has to know that if it went that way, where he had to take the steering wheel by the hands, that Morton would not cause a stir. Yeah, and I think from what we're finding out more about John Morton, he's not going to rock the boat. Big D, John Morton is a man of integrity by staying and helping coach best he can. Yeah, give him that flowers. Again, maybe not the greatest OC in the world when it comes to calling plays, but as far as his ability to analyze things, translate that information over to Dan Campbell or Coach Campbell, you're right. I think he's a man of integrity. Marcus, there's me in that. I'll go with that. Kobe Bryant. Fair enough. Let's see. Kerry, I still want Brian Daboll to call plays down the road. Maybe next year. I don't think they're going to bring him in this season, though. I could be wrong, though. Dre Day. So he is a normal OC with a coach that calls plays similar to McVay's OC or Ben Johnson OC or Green Bay OC. Yeah, 100% Dre Day. He's got that duty. Dan Campbell's clearly going to have him focus on some stuff that's more in his wheelhouse. Obviously, just calling plays isn't. Dirty Donkey, is anyone really mad at or hate Morton? Some, for sure. He's a great asset to the team, just not a good play caller for this offense. No, I think that's where you're spot on with it, man. And yes, I'll go with that 100%. Let's see. String theory. Philly is the test for me. 100%. Dan Campbell, this Lions offense goes out there, especially if they are without Laporta. You know what? If they go out and put up some points, numbers on them, then you know what? They're probably on the right path. Big D, great day. Yep, just like that. Laughing out loud. Marcus, I don't hate Morton. I just hate losing. I think we're all in that same boat there. Mark, I would rather have Dan calling the plays, and it sounds like that's what you're going to get the rest of this season. Great day. Andy Reid's OC, not Sean Payton, nor Sean Payton OC, doesn't call plays. This will benefit for the team. Yeah, 100%. That's what I was trying to say earlier, Dre Day. There's a whole lot of head coaches that call the plays. The OCs, though, get to refine more roles, more assistance with, game planning, structure, etc. All right, Pierce, this really showed me Morton's true colors. Maybe keep him as passing game coordinator or something. Yeah, something like that for sure. Riley, fired up for Sunday Night Football. Look forward to Lions football even more with the Duke Crew. 100%. It's always fun hanging out with the Duke Crew. The Ronin 99. Credit Dan for making the right call at the right time. It's like he had a pulse on the team, knew what he had to do to try to help out. Good to see you as always, my friend. Robert, how about Dan O'Damas coming within 3 points of a perfect prediction last week? How about that? Sometimes Dan O'Damas knows something. All right, Brianna, what do you got? Got to give the man credit. Exclamation point. He came out and took it on the chin. Greg agreed with that. Admitted his shortcomings and says he's a team player. Got to at least give him a chance. Daddy Dan hasn't let us down yet. No, I agree. And, hey, even with Anthony Lynn was a valuable commodity. You saw colleges go after him, other NFL teams, and he's still coaching. It's not like these guys don't know football. They just may have different strengths within the structure of the team. Detroit Sports Talk. Hey, Coach Dan with Amik Robinson on the injury report. I'm really nervous. Hey, it is what it is. Got to get through it. Hey, as Dan Campbell would say, the next guy up. JDC, happy trails. Go Lions victory. Back at you. All right, MFU, Dan. Hey, Riley. Hope you've been well, buddy. 100% there. AIB, I like the idea of keeping Morton in the booth. An extra set of eyes for Campbell on the sidelines. 100% there. And again, if you've coached before, you probably get this. If you haven't, you've just paid attention to football, just the X's and O's of it all. I think it's a big asset to whoever's calling the plays to have one or two, or probably not too many more than that, people that identify the sub-personnel, identify what their tendencies are, and now translate that over to whoever's calling the play. It's, with Green Bay Packers, I think Matt LaFleur knows football. I also think between being the head coach, the OC, trying to, help out with different positional groups, it's probably too much for any, 99% of human beings to do. So in this case with Dan Campbell, he still gets to be the head coach. He still gets to call the plays, but now he's got 2 or 3 people that he trusts to translate valuable information in a timely fashion to him and get him the right news. All right, Bo, big news. It depends on how you view it there, but good to see you, my friend. Really, I'm curious to know how long everyone has been a part of the new crew. I appreciate all of you a ton. Let me know how long you guys have been here. Some have been here, 3-4 years, somewhere in that range. There's others that obviously are newer than that, but some a long time. Gary, almost 3 years. There you go. Bo Booth, September 23. All right. Yeah, I know you're one of the OGs. Same with the Ronan and some other folks in the chat. All right, guys, I'll go ahead and get out of here. But if there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you as soon as possible. If you would be so kind, hit the subscribe, hit the like button. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. Be a good human being. See you on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, all.